Round 16 is in the books. I've removed it from the spreadsheet now. We want to be mainly focusing on those 3 to 4 rounds here. Thankfully, there's only 4 bye rounds left before it just goes back to the 1 team on a bye per round. There's 11 rounds left, and a lot of us are struggling with trades. I want to be going through a bunch of the top teams here on footystatistics.com now that it's been updated for, or current to the end of round 16. Firstly, and then we're going to go through a lot of the guys you should be looking at and some of the teams to focus on as well. So, Booze Clues, he absolutely killed it this week. We did make 4 trades, so that actually leaves him with 2 remaining, 8 to come. So remember, guys, 36 is the trades used that you can get up to. He's up to 34 now before we get the 8 extra. So he's got 10 to go for 11 rounds, which it obviously does leave a little bit of room to move for some of the top teams. Yes, a couple of 100 points ahead behind him at the moment. And the team that he has put together is incredible, but did make 4 trades and leaves him with 2. So this type of week here, where there could be a little bit of carnage from Origin or something like that, is where he could get in a little bit of trouble. Look, you could definitely use those 2 trades this week to field a strong full 17. But if that's the case and something happens in round 19 or next week, for example, in round 18, then that's when you could have a little bit of trouble. One I want to focus on here was Dano's team. So in 9th place, completely all out of trades. And I was like, okay, was he close before? Used 4 this week to be able to get there. And some really, really interesting trades. Connolly Lemuelu goes to Penasini this week. Almost feels like a downgrade to me just for 1 week of upside, especially given Penasini will be out in 18 and Lemuelu will be playing that one. So yes, the gain this week, but not thinking ahead in my opinion. Scott Drinkwater got traded for Joey Manu. Yes, a great trade in to get 99, but that's another, is that 40 odd points, 43, 42 points, whatever it is? Is that worth it long term? It might be. It definitely was this week, but is it worth it going forward? So that's definitely something to think about, especially when this squad now is sitting there with Hayes Dunster as well. So another guy that's not playing, but another eel. There's Mitchell Moses in there as well. You've got Penasini, Hopgood. So there's 4 eels just on face value, and that's without having any issues in round 18, or if one of your Origin guys gets cooked or something like that. So every chance that in round 18, potentially this round, I've looked into it deeply for round 17, but you're sitting there with Oluwapu, with Hines, with Lukey, who's out. So not able to trade Lukey for the next few weeks. He's going to be out. The Origin guys potentially backing up all the other bench, all the other guys that are on a bye this week. So not a huge lot. Bateman as well. So 4 out, I believe. In 5 out with Buller as well. So he's going to field an understrength squad this week very clearly, and it shows you if you're somewhere near these ranks, then you can catch up. The other thing to think about, guys, yes, I'm focusing on some of the top teams, the guys in the top 100 here, but if you're someone in 1200th overall and you have sort of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trades there potentially, even 5 trades, I think is a pretty good position at the moment. The great man Brenton Vickery just messaged me actually and told me that the average trades in the top 50 is actually 3.1. So if you're ahead of that, then most likely you're going to be able to catch up on wherever rank you are. If you're 5,000, if you're 800, whatever that position is, you can definitely push into better ranking points or better ranking positions over the next bunch of weeks. So Brenton is in the best position with 6 left and has moved up to 3rd overall. So 6 trades there for his team. Elite Rugby League is at 34. We've got Denise at 34 gone, so only 2 left. JBFA crew, respect, in 33, so 3 left. Rhino has 3 left. Beaver's Headgear was 2nd last week or the week before, has 8. So he's the closest to where Momani more problems is in Brenton. And then Stevers, there's only 4 left. Dano, as we spoke about, playing for overall, has 8 left. So great idea playing for overall, having lots of trades left. Who would have thought? Easy Tiger only has 2. I'm only here for the beer, has 4. You get where I'm at here. Rogue Mobsters has 1. So if you're sitting that 5 plus, I think you're going to be making a lot of ranks, especially if there's a bit of carnage in with Origin this week. As I said, it might help them this week in terms of they can actually use those last trades or whatever they've got, but then they're going to be cooked for 18 and 19 before they even get that 8. And then really from that point, if you've had a bit of a shocker in sort of 18, 19, you might have a player that you need or 2 that you need to trade out because they've got injured this week, next week, or in 19, and then you're burning through that 8 allotment of trades anyway. So there's definitely that's what I was talking about with my short-term sort of pain last week, losing some ranks with the position I ended up in with the issues with Dylan Brown and all those issues the week before, to get some longer-term gain with, being able to potentially use 2 trades this week and have a really gun 17, depending on what happens with Origin backups and stuff like that. So that's the Rogue Mobsters. Just wanted to shout out to the Jamie Brown enjoyer. Thank you for continuing to do well. Lost a couple of ranks this week, but not too bad. Sitting with 4 trades remaining. Traded Cook and Cody Nicarima to Will Penasini and Madison. So both those guys didn't score amazingly well, but that trade of Tafade in a couple of weeks ago after trading him out, trading him out, then trading him back in. Hopefully he can get a start for you, the Jamie Brown enjoyer. So that's that one there. I just wanted to focus on that, and I thought that was really cool to have a look at, and I think it's something that you should have a look at each and every week. Okay, let's go to the buys here, and I've got my, I've reset the amount of buys remaining. Titans the only team with no players left on the buy, so definitely a few options going forward. The ones that aren't in any Origin contention are that of Tanner Boyd, really, is the main one, and then Jaden Campbell, but Foreign likely to come back fairly soon and take that spot with AJ at 1. There's not really room for Campbell, so if there's a longer term injury, then sure. The only other thing to think about is what's going to happen with Ben Hunt, and there are a few teams that have ability to sign him on a big contract, and Titans are one of those guys. Dolphins, another one. Raiders are in need of a half. Who else is it? Bulldogs potentially looking at him there. So Roosters. You can work out how to get him to the Roosters, but that's something to focus on over the next few weeks as well, is to see where Ben Hunt is going. And all power to Ben. I can't believe that the Dragons are even saying no to him. Like, as I said, if it gets to a point where someone has to go, I'm going to pay money to leave this club, he's been there for a long time, then it's bad, and that you cannot repair that relationship. So it would be stupid for them to try and keep him, they'll force him to stay there. It's a crazy one how they can force people out of their contracts and trade them and get rid of them and all that kind of stuff, but you can't do the other way around, which it happens in all the sports now, that the players have so much power, they're on so much money, and you don't want to be paying your player so much money for him to not perform, especially when they're not happy. So I think they should part ways, but that's something we need to follow, is where he's going to end up. But if he doesn't end up with Titans, then I think Tanner Boyd's a great purchase this week. In terms of trades and thinking about your trades, guys, and messaging me about your trades, team list isn't even out yet, and I will be waiting until post-Origin to make any decisions on trades, because everything can change very quickly if there's an injury or guys aren't getting backed up, or team list tonight. There's lots to think about there as well. So that's that. They're the only team without the bye, so important there, but not a lot of guys you want to be looking at. Dave Fafita, someone you want to focus on after Origin as well. Some guys that are playing Origin, if you do have a strong 21, if you have a lot of trades remaining, then guys like Reece Walsh, the Payne Haas's, these types of guys, you could select them this week if they don't play a lot of minutes in Origin or they have a longer turnaround time. You see the number next to all the teams there is how many days after Origin is their backup day. So Roosters have that long backup, which you'd imagine. Tigers have that long backup against the Roosters. In that round. So they have a 4-day turnaround. The Roosters do have one actually, and the Titans have a 4-day backup, same as Cowboys and Broncos. So and Rabbitohs. So it looks like the teams that have the majority of the Origin guys are getting that long backup, and so that means that if you do, as I said, if you do have a lot of trades, you could bring in a couple of those really good Origin guys like the Munsters, Harry Grants, these guys that have dropped a little bit in cash that obviously scored better on the weekend. That's just something to note as well. It becomes now in round 17 that you can look to bring in a few of those guys because they're likely to only miss that one more round in round 19, pending other buys that the team has. So that's something to think about for sure. And then we have a lot of teams that have one buy left. There's going to be a couple after this week in the Tigers and the Sharks. Now it'll be Titans, Sharks, and Tigers following round 17 that will have no buys remaining. And then those guys, I think, personally, getting IPAP, so Isaiah Papali'i in my team to partner John Bateman in the edge, I think is going to be a really, really good purchase in round 18. Don't have to worry about any more buys and the like there. Dave Fafita will be a potential purchase in the edge following Origin, so I can have 3 really good guys in that position, and then Bateman is likely to get some dual position status as well. So that's something to think about with the Tigers and the Sharkies having their last bye this weekend. Sharkies, obviously, Heinze Nicara, those type of guys are probably it there. And then other teams that have a bye, so Eagles, Panthers, Roosters there, and yeah, that's it. They have their Storm and Knights have their last bye in round 19. Sorry, almost got there. Yes, round 19. So obviously not overloading on those guys from here. Some of those teams were a good selection last week or a couple of weeks ago after their bye, like the Eagles in round 14, the Panthers in round 13. Purchasing them then was a better purchase than buying them now because you only get 2 weeks before that really tough round 19 bye. Obviously, each of them are tough in their own way. We are pretty heavy with some Panthers guys now. Well, a bunch of teams are with Edwards, the Sorensens, Cogger, these types of guys. For now, lots of Roosters in our squads. Really only like Garrick or something with the Eagles. But yeah, Turbo's definitely someone to look at as well as I popped him in there as an option. Storm guys will have sort of 1 or 2 there. And then Knights with Ponga, potentially Mazu, these types of guys as well. Cowboys and Broncos are the other teams with the round 19 bye, but they have following byes in round 24 and 25 respectively. So there are other options there for round 19. There's 3 teams on a round 20 bye. So that's the Dragons, Jack DeBellins, Littles, these types of guys. The Raiders, the Corey Horsburghs, the Tarpaners, those type of players. And then the Rabbitohs in round 20 as well. So any Origin guys from those 3 teams, I would not be looking at. That's why the Broncos one was fine with Walshy, Haas, Carrigan, those types of players. And then the only Broncos I would be looking to purchase at this point. Some people are looking at the potential of like a Herbie Farnworth and these types of guys. All solid, but you obviously missed them in round 19, which is tough. So yeah, not overloading on those Dragons, Raiders, and Rabbitohs selections is fine. But remember, guys, that they play the next 3 games straight. And, if one of them is like a, potential borderline keeper or there's someone that you think is a keeper, then I would go for them in this week here. So that you do get a clear 3 weeks. You get 2 pretty important bye rounds in 17 and 19. 18, we're going to have a fair few Eels as well. So that's something to note there. So I don't think it's a massive issue going for a mixture of those 3 teams there. But you don't want to have more than sort of 4 or 5. 5 probably now would be fine, and then you're likely to trade 1 out, just kind of like what we're doing in round 17 here. It's probably the best selection there. And really, guys, like from the Rabbitohs, I think you just need to avoid them at this point. Yes, they play the next 3, and then round 20 they have a bye, round 26 they have a bye as well. But really, the only guys we're looking at in the Rabbitohs are those Origin type of players. And someone like Damien Cook, I'd like to probably get 2 more rounds out of him, and then he's likely to be sold in around 19 or something like that. Potentially 18, depending on how things go. It could be this week if he doesn't back up, those type of things there with those players in that one. That's probably all I want to speak on here. It's just obviously a couple of buys left for the Bulldogs, Eels, Cowboys, Broncos, Rabbitohs. So avoiding majority of those guys. Warriors are pretty safe. They have a buy in round 22 on their lonesome, and really you're not going to have probably more than 2 or 3 at max there. Guys like Adam Fanua-Blake are now done with that buy in round 16. It becomes a solid option in the mids, but I know most of us aren't really clearly needing a mid at this point. And that is all, I think, for this video. I hope that helped you guys, give you a bit of perspective on where you're at trades-wise, and what we really need to be focusing on that next 3 weeks clearly, but then round 20 as well with those 3 teams on the buy. Hope this helped, and I'll catch you in the next one.